So we're testing out a product category that we haven't had a lot of hands-on time with on this channel, or just ourselves personally. So this is Detail Co. What are they calling it? It is Bugs, Dirt and Exterior. This is a citrus degreaser, so you can use it in all sorts of fashion. You can use it to remove bugs, you can use it on rubber. What do they say on here? For all exterior needs, the powerful citrus degreaser cleans tires, remove bugs, and can even soften tar. So I don't think this would be a replacement for some of those products in your decontamination step. I still think you want a dedicated tar remover. Obviously there's no iron removing properties of this product here, but this is a citrus degreaser, and the way that we want to test it out here today is we often get cars coming through the shop that look like this. And personally, I face this with the Tesla Model Y as well. Because we don't have any of the grills, we end up collecting bugs just like this. This is Range Rover Velar we've got here, and as you can see, it's pretty heavily covered in bugs. I think we've got a fly there. We've got all sorts of road grime, mainly bugs. Down here, big splatter. And I mean, this is fairly common all times of the year here in New Zealand. And what we generally struggle with is we can't come along and foam the car using our pH neutral wash, wipe this down and have 100% removal of all of these. We need to hit this area traditionally probably 2, if not 3 times. And what happens is when we get to the drying stage and we introduce our drying aid, we are still spot removing some of the bugs. So really keen to try a product like Bugs, Dirt and Exterior to see if we can loosen some of this up, so that when we do come along and we foam the car using our pH neutral soap, to see if we can soften these up to a point where we can remove, 90-95% of them rather than 50% every time we go and use a sponge in the bucket. So you can use this in a few different ways. We're going to try this today straight up, but you can dilute this. So they say here, neat for dirty jobs, 3-to-1 for medium strength, 5-to-1 for maintenance. So we're going to be quite aggressive. We are in direct sunlight here, so we are going to be pretty careful around the dwell time. I think the way to do this, if you're working in a direct sunlight and you are going to use it straight up, or neat as Detail Co say, you work sections. So I'm not going to spray down this whole bumper, because the risk of this drying being acidic, we could potentially incur some damage.
You don't want to get streaking either.
That's it. Streaking is probably the key concern. So what I think we do is let's just work half of this bumper. Let's spray it straight up. Let's do no pre-rinse, because then we're not diluting the product. What you could do though is you could rinse this down and then you could spray this straight up, and you're going to end up with an effective dilution ratio there less than neat, right? Because
I think the detailing space is actually moving towards a direction of this is coming from DIY Details. They use a chemical.
Yep.
So you spray your chemical on, might be a soap.
Yep.
They call it chemical rinse chemical. So you spray your chemical on direct, let it sit, dwell, rinse it off, spray your chemical again, come in with your contact wash. And the whole idea is that there is this philosophy out there that if you come in with high pressure water right now, with your pressure washer, and you spray those bugs, you're then pressurizing that dirt and grit, and you're then pressurizing that to spray it across the surface.
Yep.
The idea is that you put scratches and marring. So chemical gets it in there, eats it, gets rid of all the stuff that can come off quite easily, the grit, the sand and all that kind of stuff. Spray that off, then you come in and then you go chemical again. But you're going to use this as like a pre-treat.
Correct.
You're going to pre-treat the bugs and dirt and stuff off here, and then you're going to come in lightly with a little mitt, wipe it off, and then rinse, right?
So let's just work from here to the right. Let's spray this straight up on the surface. We want to give it a pretty reasonable soaking, but we are going to work quite quickly in rinsing off. And I don't think there's any harm in hitting this twice, because you don't want to let this dry on the surface.
Not when we're working direct sunlight.
No, absolutely not. So I think we let that dwell for probably no longer than 30 seconds, maybe 45 seconds. As you can see here, the sun is already attacking that and starting to
I would get rid of it now. And you can see where it's starting to run down the paint. If you let that dry, you'll have that as a streak.
As a streak mark. So let's rinse this off. And I think the key with any product like this, make sure any overspray is removed as well. So I want to come to this section here. I've got some bubbles, and just make sure that I come back this way, just so we can be as safe as possible. Do you know what? I I definitely noticed that there was quite a big bug here. We've still got some remnants of it. It did a pretty good job at just removing that.
I mean, well, this is wet, so I mean, you would probably, if we were to dry it, you'd see a few more bugs come up.
But I mean, if we go over this side here, right?
That's where we started,
so
right?
we've got the same. We've got some bugs. So come down here, see here? Let's just rinse that and see just what the rinsing, the high pressure rinsing alone does to those bugs. So we've still got the remnants of this one left here and a little bit here. So I'm going to hit those areas. Now, keeping in mind, this is no longer effectively straight up because we do have some water on the surface here. But if we hit that, let's just let that dwell for a little bit. And the test really for me here would be when we come along and high pressure rinse that off again now, is that bug going to be completely removed or close to completely removed? Because the whole idea here is I don't need to remove 100% of the bug through this part of the process because I am going to come along with my sponge and contact wash this. But if this can remove a good portion of it before you even get there, we're
loosens it up, easier to clean, and you're using this as a pre-treat before you come in with your soap and bucket wash, really.
So we're less likely to incur damage on the car as well because less contact equals...
And there's nothing worse getting to the drying stage and going, oh damn, I've still got all these bugs on there.
So let's try rinse this off again. I mean, pretty good job for not having made any contact at all. And what I can see there is that obviously we came along and rinsed that without any kind of product on the surface the first time around, and it was still pretty stubborn. We do have remnants, tiny little bit left there, but now we're at the point where, hey, look, for this area of the panel, we probably removed like 90, 95%.
Yeah, so look, if we go back, so you can see all the other bugs that are still on here that we haven't hit. And then as we come across, this panel starting to dry now. We are using DI water, so don't freak out about that. But you can see we've got rid of most of those bugs.
So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to just hit this whole panel, all the areas that we haven't touched. I'm going to also hit part of this grill, and then I'll come along, contact wash. I actually think this is going to do a pretty good job. I think just the key concern here is that you just want to make sure that you don't muck around here. You do not let this dry on the surface. Be really careful with the overspray as well.
It smells like a pretty aggressive cleaner too.
Yeah, I'm kind of getting a whiff of it.
So it's like an all-purpose sort of cleaner with probably a bunch of citrus degreasers.
Yeah.
It foams a little bit, so there's some pretty powerful surfactants in there I can see. So yeah, and we're just going to let that sit, let it eat, rinse off, and we're going to come back with our bucket wash and just sort of mop that up and sort of, I guess you're neutralizing the chemical and getting rid of it completely off the surface.
Now I'm spending a little bit more time rinsing here than I would if we just had a traditional soap. I do not want to let any of this dry on the surface, and as you can see, I do have a little bit that I've shot over the top here, so I'll come from the other angle and send that back down. You just want to be really careful with a product like this, especially in your direct sunlight. So if we weren't working in direct sunlight, I probably would have left some of that on the surface while I went to my my sponge here, but I'm being extra safe today. But really, we're just trying to neutralize this out now, just be very, very gentle. We're not refoaming the car. I would expect that if you're working in the shade, you would still have some of the bugs, dirt and exterior on here, but we're just going really light, no pressure at all with this here, and just making sure we're neutralizing, removing anything that's left, and in this stage as well, hopefully it should be removing any remnants of the bugs that we had on the surface there with really, really minimal effort. I think if this works well, this is something that I could see putting in my process, especially if you do a lot of night driving and pick up a lot of bugs. and especially on all of the hybrids and electrics these days that have massive front hoods, normally you lose a lot of the bugs through your intercooler areas. And you are on this Range Rover here, but EV, this is going to be all a bug collection zone.
You can see now that this product has done all the heavy hitting for us. It has loosened up those bugs. It has started to break them down so that we can very easily and safely remove this. Other than the purpose of this video where we've used this product just to show you as a standalone at how well it was at eating and removing those bugs, how you would introduce this into your processes, that you would use it as like a pre-treat. So you would spray it on areas where there's high bugs, high sort of other sort of materials that have etched their way into the front of the bumpers, around the rockers and stuff. You spray that on, let it eat for a little bit. Then you would then come in and then spray on your foam, let that dwell, rinse it off. And hopefully in that rinse phase, you would remove a lot of the bugs, dirt and grime. Then you would come in with another foam, you would foam the car again, and then that's when you would start your bucket wash. And I think that's a process that's slowly being adopted into the detailing space, and I think a product like this fits really well into that sort of category. You would only use this when you do have high bugs and grime like that. You wouldn't want to use this all the time, so you'd only use it when it's necessary.
So we're just going to get the leaf blower out, dry this down, and then we can show you a really quick after of the results this product's achieved for us today. So that's a really quick test of bugs, dirt and exterior. Obviously we've only used it in one fashion. There are other ways that you can use this product, but as you can see the paint there, it has done a really good job at removing pretty much all of the bugs that we had on there, and we've only gone really light with the contact wash. So I think an acidic product like this is definitely something that we can find a way into our process. I think it's an important product to have, and you can see right now it's made the process of getting this car really clean much easier. And we've done most of it in a touchless fashion, which means we've got less risk of incurring any damage or marring to the surface. So that's bugs, dirt and exterior from Detail Co. I'm sure we'll be testing many more products in this category to figure out which ones make our top list. Thank you for watching, and we'll see you guys in the next video.